All right, my name is Matthias. I'm working as a lead 3D artist at AixSponza. We are a Munich-based company, medium-sized, I would say, for Germany at least. We are 10 people working there full-time on-site. We go up to 30, 35 people using freelancers. And what we mostly do is television commercials. A big side of our things is doing animations for Red Bull and their extreme sports events. Some trade show backgrounds for car companies, online configurators, a little bit of industry visualizations, on-air design, motion design, intros, closers for TV shows, that kind of stuff. Basically everything that's in the motion graphics world and reaching out on either side to longer Red Bull kind of stuff, animations, and on the other side, it's going to the industry a bit more with trade shows and car companies. That's the field we are working in, and I don't know, shall I show my show reel? Because I guess pictures say more than 1,000 words, but and I've got a lot of pictures, 2.5 minutes of them. This is the work that we do, stuff we did in the last 2-3 years or so. There's sound as well. Or not? Now there is. That's what we do. I personally started out with Cinema 4D as my main program, where I learned everything. Some centuries ago, I studied media technologies, then went on doing a master's degree in 3D animation to be able to focus on just the 3D side of things for another year, which was very good for me. And throughout my studies and my personal work, I basically always used cinema because it just stuck to me, and I really liked it, the way you work in the program. I also worked in 3D Studio Max for a bit when I was working at Animationsfabrik, which is a Hamburg-based production studio doing cinema movies, German children movies, and also TV commercials. I worked at Podium, das Werk in Munich for about a year, where I used Softimage, so I know a bit of the Softimage side, but not really that much because that was like ages ago, even before Ice was introduced, so I only know the very basics of Softimage, but I've worked with it at Pictorion, and after that I went to AixSponza, started my career there doing a bit of everything, because with the size that we are as a company, there's not really much room for really tight specialization, and we are all pretty much all-round artists working on every aspect of a show, especially with TV commercials, a production goes on for maybe 2-3 weeks, 6 weeks maximum. The longer Red Bull films take 4 months to produce. So everyone is working on everything basically. Maybe some people are a bit specialized in the particle direction. Some people are, like me, are more specialized into the V-ray shading lighting thing, and that's what I do usually. I do a bit of everything with a small specialization towards shading and lighting. And we as a company, we use Cinema 4D as our main program, the core of every production, and then we build quite a lot of smaller other programs around it because the interchange is quite good as well. We use a bit of Softimage for particle heavy stuff, mainly because of ice. We use 2D for a few jobs, not really using that a lot anymore. We use ZBrush, all your typical stuff, 3D code, photo scan. So we've got quite a lot of programs going on, all integrated into Cinema 4D, either via built-in exchange formats like Collada or FBX or OBJ or that kind of stuff. And we also built a custom in-house exchange tool for Houdini, even though we're not using it that much anymore. That's from back then. But it worked pretty well as well, creating custom exchange formats if you need to integrate cinema into a production workflow that's already standing there. So yeah, we are a Cinema 4D company, basically rendering mostly with V-Ray, and that's the technical side of things. And maybe now it's time for Liga 01 to stand up and introduce them.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Florian Bruchhäuser, I'm Head of Production Research and Development at Liga 01, so I'm taking care of all the production pipeline aspects at Liga 01. We are a company based in Hamburg and Munich, 36 employees in total. We are a heavy 3D company. The root of the company now 20 years ago comes from SZM Studios down in Munich, and most of the people starting Liga 01 were at Spanz und Partner at Hamburg in the old days of 3D commercial animation. So Softimage was the tool since day one. Yeah, let's watch the reel and I tell you something about me afterwards. That was Liga 01, mainly Softimage, a lot of Ice, and Arnold as a main renderer. Yeah, I started in 1993 with 3D Studio under the old DOS. system installed, I think from 10 floppy disks or something. So that was my start. I used 3D Studio, Lightwave, Sculpt, Electric Image. Then I went 99 to Maya, because it was the first tool giving me a scripting language called Mel to extend the package. And so I started doing a lot of development TD work, started using RenderMain, wrote my own shaders, worked as a freelancer most of the time in Hamburg, then worked as an effects animator at DreamWorks Animation for 2 years, doing Over the Hedge and B-movies, and coming back, started my own company, still using Maya. But like with Maya all the time, it's you're with a screwdriver between your teeth under the table, and you're always tweaking something, or you have to build your own tools. So for a small company, that's kind of hard, even if I like to do it, but I had to take care of the business side. So there was a big decision what to do, and we had 2 young guys using Softimage. I said, okay, let's be adventurous. I'm junior. Back again, and we started using Softimage, and this was the the start of Ice, which was for me really compelling, because we could do node-based heavy particle stuff without scripting, even if I like scripting, but I didn't have the time to script. So yeah, we started, and I loved it. Then there came Arnold. And after 5 years, we closed the company just for different reasons. 2 nerds starting a company is kind of difficult. You have you need someone taking care of the business side. And so yeah, then I started working at Liga 01, and I brought Arnold with me. Softimage was already there. And now we are here. And Softimage will be there for another 2 years, but now there's a big question mark what to do, and I think that's the reason why I'm here. I'm not the religious XSI guy, so I'm not like defending it forever. But there's some good stuff and some stuff I love, and yeah, you will see what these guys are doing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give you guys a little bit background about Maxon, I mean, Maxon is a company that's not a big beast like a lot of our competitors. I mean, we're still, the founders of the company are still within the company and leading the company. We are about 100 people right now, a really young, fresh team with great ideas. And so our intention is not to become the big beast. Our intention is, and will be in the future, to provide the best tools to artists and make life easier to every artist. And it's not the goal to be just the money maker. And this is why we're here today, to really understand what your needs are from the artist perspective. And I think Florian and Matthias can give you also some perspective from their day-to-day work. And we see how Cinema 4D fits in your daily work or in your pipeline. So I would love to open the discussion first with asking how many Softimage users are sitting here. Oh, that's not so much. So yeah, please feel free to ask any questions or how Cinema 4D could fit in your pipeline. So exactly what are your expectations to a new package like Cinema 4D, for example?
Like easy usable interface, easy to use, to animate with curves, the animation curves, to edit the curves. Like in Softimage, that's pretty cool. I have a feeling it does what I want. And or like that's one example. The intuitive workflow with the interface, that's really necessary.
I think we can provide something like this. Yeah.
What I think it looks like the Cinema 4D community is quite helpful, just by looking at what people are doing, the kind of work that's coming out of it is in a way similar to Softimage in terms of kind of the look and feel. There's some shortcomings as a Softimage user that I see when I open the package. I don't really know that much about it. Or for example, Softimage, we have something called a render tree. In Maya, I think it's called the Acro shader. It's basically a normal way of making textures and shaders, which for me it really is like super essential, and I'm so used to it that not having that now, which I believe Cinema 4D doesn't have.
No, let me put it this way, not yet. So, for us, it's really the goal to listen to the customers. We don't want to be the company that dictates you how a software should look like. We do a lot of studio tours or even discussions like this one and talk to the community, talk to users, understand what's really needed, what's missing in C4D, and we know some stuff is missing. Matthias knows it from production much better than I do, but it's definitely a lot of stuff is on our roadmap for the future, and we get all the stuff back from the community. Let's take a look at R15, which is the current release right now. It is really one of the big releases where we just grabbed the top feature requests from customers all over the world and put the top feature requests in the package. And this is also the goal to do it year after year from now, to really give the users the tools they want and they're asking for. Because for us, it doesn't matter if we program feature A or feature B. If the feature is not needed, it doesn't make sense to put any resources on the feature. And so this is why it's so important for us to really get the feedback from the market. And it's not only about Softimage users. Every user is involved. Also people from other packages like Modo or Lightwave coming to me and say, I would love to use Cinema 4D more and more, but I have a couple of features that are missing right now. And if you can give me a good sign or a light thumbs up that stuff is coming, I could be sure in the future and would dive into this product right away. And I think this is also one of the key things, give the user security for the future and not another package that will die in 5 years. Nobody knows what will be in 5 years, but our approach is really be as close to the user base as possible. As you said, the Cinema 4D community is very similar to the Softimage community. And even the philosophy of the old Softimage founders and Maxon as a company is very similar. So from the philosophy perspective, it's a perfect match. From a feature set, of course, there is a slight difference right now. But I think in the future, a lot of stuff can be done. And
Count me in for something like node-based shader building and using a Fresnel like 15 times in a shading tree. That would be awesome.
Well, I guess my question is to Liga 1, and is that what you guys are going to do? Or are you going to transfer to Cinema 4D?
I have no clue right now. It's everything tends to be like in the Maya direction, like Autodesk is pushing it, but not giving. They're talking about the dual license system stuff, but we are still waiting for our licenses since, I don't know, weeks now. So it's kind of like ever with Autodesk, and I have a long tradition of following or fleeing these guys, and it's like every package I ever bought was like at one point bought by Autodesk. So I'm I'm a little bit scared. I'm an old Maya man, so for me, I started with Maya version 1, and so it would be easy to say, hey, I'm on the Maya train again. But I don't feel like that, so it's kind of difficult. We are evaluating, like we are talking to these guys, but the first thing that came to my mind and opening cinema again was like a shading network thing where you can use stuff again and reconnect and color correct. And I think we all need simple tools like Ice was basically, it was some nodes with math operators running fast, and you could build awesome stuff on top of that. So that would be like a nice first step, right? To like have a kind of shading network and use your stuff you already integrated, but reconnect it. Like I said, use a Fresnel like 10 times in the shading tree. That's the stuff that Softimage users love and like.
And it's also the biggest shortcoming of cinema. And I always hear that as well, shader tree and a render layer system, which isn't there either. It is there as plugins, but obviously plugins are always like, do you really want to go there? The developer stops developing it. What do you do? The cinema goes up one version, you don't get a new license. It's plugins, I don't feel like using them. So it's a very lively community, yes. You get a lot of them, big ones as well, which add major functionality like fluid simulations or fast running particles. That's another shortcoming, that thinking particles tends to get very slow, especially when you're coming from Softimage and you're used to having 4 million particles going real time in the editor. The thinking particles in cinema can't really do that well, but if you want to open up to plugins, XParticles, for example, is very, very good at consuming huge amounts of particles. So the particle scene is very big and very lively, and not just creating those small little workflow helpers, but really big features as well. So that's a strong point of cinema, I guess, the community in general. In forums as well, if you've got a question, usually there's a good answer, not just look at the manual, you idiot thing, but really a good answer coming in short time. So that's something I like about cinema, the whole community and plugin developer community as well.
So XParticles is multi-threaded?
Yeah.
And the one that comes with CINEMA?
That's, I think, I don't know, 12 years old or so. So it's not now, because at the time it was created, there was no multi-threaded CPU. So.
I mean, also to give you some information about Cinema 4D from a technical perspective, really one of the strong points about Cinema 4D is Maxon owns 100% of the code. So means whatever needs to be fixed or whatever's really not good in cinema, we are able to fix it. A lot of our competitors try to license third-party implementations of whatever, character tools or some other stuff. And the problem always is getting this stuff fixed is a nightmare, and especially if you're in the middle of a production. And so on a C4D perspective, we rely on two external factors, and that one is the graphics driver and one is the sound driver. But all the other code is really 100% owned by Maxon, and we're able to change almost anything you like. I mean, of course, we have some issues like the old thinking particles code, which was bought back in the days. But of course, I mean, software documentation is also one of the issues a lot of people fight. And for us, it was also hard to maintain the code over the years. And so I wouldn't say this is status quo. I mean, it is, but in the future, this will change definitely. But we are also very interested in building relationships to other software companies, to plugin developers. Matthias mentioned, the community is really good, very active. They listen carefully. I mean, just last week, ThinkBox Software launched Krakatoa for Cinema 4D, which was a project that was initialized by an artist called Daniel Hanyas from Munich. He started the project because it was a plugin that was definitely missing for C4D. ThinkBox took over, and he is also working on an Arnold bridge for Cinema 4D. I can tell you exclusively today, because we will announce it today, what Matthias brought up in the beginning. Another big point for us is exchanges. I mean, Cinema 4D has a great environment for exchanging data to other applications. I mean, we support all the stuff like FBX, Alembic, OBJ. And what we will announce today as well is a strong partnership exclusively with side effects software for Houdini. Means we work together with the side effects team on building Houdini engine inside of Cinema 4D, but also a full workflow between both applications, so you can bring in data back and forth. Because as I mentioned before, our intention is not let the artist fight against technical aspects, let the artist create some great artwork, and not fighting against technical issues of a software. And so this is something that will come later this year. There is no exact release date yet, but I think this is also a very strong point for Cinema 4D, that it plays really well together with other tools. So it's not that we're sitting here and say Cinema 4D is the holy grail. That's it can do everything, of course, but it should fit in the pipeline. So if you want to do your just modeling task in Cinema 4D, fine. We have to make sure that you can get your data in and out. And I mean, AixSponza had a lot of data exchange with their Formula One spot, and there's the reason why they choose Cinema 4D as their main product. And I think Matthias can give some more reasons why. Also, I mean, there is a system like Espresso, which is a node-based expression language. It's not ICE, of course it's not, but it's very similar to ICE, and you can do a lot of things you can do in Espresso that you can't do in ICE. ICE, of course, has a lot of advantages, but it's there, and it's something that's missing in other applications as well. And so bringing a Softimage user from to Cinema 4D, I think it's a minor step. It's not a major step where you have to learn anything new. And of course, what's missing, I would love to hear it.
Well, one of the main reasons we started using Cinema was Espresso, because it makes it very easy to build things like technical rigs and that kind of stuff, small workflow helpers, all that stuff. If you don't go into the 4 million particles direction, then Espresso is, I think, a perfect tool. It's not multi-threaded, okay, but for what we use it, that doesn't really matter, because you don't really need multi-threading for like technical rigs if they don't get too complicated and advanced. And basically, maybe you should think about what you're doing when it does get so slow that everything is clogging up. Maybe it's not the program, but the guy sitting in front of the computer. Sometimes that's the reason for me when stuff gets slow and I step back a bit and say, oh, I did some stupid stuff there, and then suddenly it's faster. But we did a comparison test with our car rig, and we rebuilt it in Softimage Ice, and the display performance was much better in Cinema. We got some 30 frames in the editor in OpenGL display, and in Softimage we only had like 18 or so, if I remember correctly. So it's not as if Cinema is just worse at everything comparing it to Softimage. On the contrary, there's stuff where Cinema is better as well, especially if you're not that technically minded and you don't want to dive deeply into all the matrix nodes and multiplying them with vectors all on your own. Then I think Cinema can be a good alternative also when you're talking things like the inbuilt MoGraph module, which is sort of an advanced but very simple kind of particle system for just moving things around like you usually do in motion graphics, where cubes are popping up and going everywhere and they're rotating randomly, and that kind of stuff is very simple and intuitive and also rather fast.
I think right now for us it's more is there some source of information? I mean, if you like these guys or us, we have to make a decision which is kind of lasting, because we are all some of us are old, and so you have to dive into a new package, and we want to know before we spend days or weeks in a package to know what it can do. Is there any source of information that?
Absolutely. I mean, For people who want to get more information about this, there is right now an email address. It's called 3dlove@maxon.net. And later this month, there will be a website providing all informations, FAQs, some interviews of C4D artists explaining really the strength of the software. And for us, it's important that you send us an email really asking your questions, so we try to provide some answers. We really try to understand what your needs are and provide you a custom-built solution. Of course, if you say you buy a couple of licenses, we can never talk about discounts. That's not the big deal, but I think it's really stupid to just say, okay, we give you 50% off and you'll be happy, and we leave you there with a bunch of questions unanswered, diving into a new package, don't knowing what's coming up next. And so this is why we created this email address to get in touch with Maxon. We have a team sitting there from the marketing team, salespeople, education, also from product development, try to help the people as best as we can. And it's not an automated email that gets back to you and say, yeah, thank you for your email. Here is a demo copy of Cinema 4D. It's really, tied to your knees. So any more questions?
Is there an issue with copyright? For example, if you were to transfer other things around software, I'm not a software developer, so I don't know, but say, for example, things like the passes and partitions in XSI, which for me are a simple solution of how to organize lighting and rendering. If you, for example, were to do something similar in Cinema 4D, would that be like infringing copy?
It depends. So what we don't do is just copy things one-to-one. What we do is we try to, of course, we take a look at other packages and see what they're doing good and what not, and then develop it the C4D way. So our goal is make things easy to use, because easy to use means saving time and saving money, get stuff done fast. And so this is what we do. We have a team of product designers sitting there and really creating concepts for every feature, and of course we take a close look to other applications as well. And there might be issues in some cases about copyright or patents. I mean, this is another issue you fight against if you're developing software. But we do what we can to really provide these tools. Of course. But I mean, the foundation is there. I mean, we have Espresso, which is not very different to ICE. I mean, it can do stuff that you can do in ICE and vice versa. But adding features to achieve the same behavior or the same results like ICE, of course, it's doable. But this is something where we really have to understand much more about ICE and how the users are using ICE and what the needs are, because I mean, developing things takes a lot of time, and we want to make sure to develop the right things and not wasting time on unneeded stuff. Any more questions? Also the C4D users. Yeah, but it's more about you. Okay, so you mean just more about organizing things, snapping, have a cleaner interface. And I think this is something where we can help.
It already got better. If you downloaded a version from 3 years ago or so, it would even be worse. So we're happy with the small steps that we get, but hopefully the ideas that are out there and are floating around in the forums, like when you draw connections, they don't snap to the imports and stuff like that, that should be known to Maxon, I think, because there's quite a lot of threads about this also internally. And yeah, if we are lucky, then maybe this guy pushes those issues a bit forward and we might see a fix. Or we might not, I don't know. But I guess we do. Yeah, it's a bit of a hindrance. There's also some other smaller issues, like when you drop something in, nodes are not created automatically when you, like for example, you drag a position connection over to another node and it doesn't only give you the vector inputs but all inputs there are, even though it doesn't make sense at all to connect a vector input to something like just a normal real number, and it's not very intelligent. I give you that. It's a bit of, well, I don't know how to say this. It offers you all the options, but it's not really thinking for you. That is true. And also just like small things like snapping, I agree that would be nice to see in an update to Espresso, because that really is missing right now. Yeah, like from everyone else.
It's on top of the list.
So what are you planning to do for body paint? Because apparently in the new versions body paint didn't make. So is there coming a huge update for body paint as well?
There is something coming for body paint, of course. I mean, this is also something we cannot give out our roadmap publicly because we're in a highly competitive environment. But you can be sure we add some stuff to body paint. It's not dead. I mean, it's always a question about resources. I mean, we have a limited number of resources, and Cinema 4D over the last couple of years got a lot of attraction from users from different areas like design, even 2D guys turning into 3D motion artists. And it goes up to games, VFX, high-end film production. And so we have to also add a lot of things to Cinema 4D that's not really visible. That's more in the architecture of Cinema 4D to make it faster. I mean, this is, I think, the number one request, make it faster. But of course, I mean, in the past, it was definitely the point was body paint got too less love, and I can tell you it will get more love in the future. Sticky keys? Yes.
Days, every artist is capable to learn by himself and can make great stuff. If you train 1 week in another program and you come back a month later and you try to work from this point, they've forgotten mostly everything in other packages. So Cinema 4D is a very good tool to learn for the artist, and you learn very fast at it. And another point I want to say, if you come from another 3D package, you love some things. Like, for example, some people tell me about history, other people tell me about mode-based shader systems. Yeah, because you have learned such things and you don't want to lose this. But Cinema 4D has, at some point, another architecture. For example, Cinema 4D is very generator-driven. And this generator-driven approach is sometimes more flexible than a history, and it's much more stable. And so sometimes you have to look how cinema thinks, and then compare what you need then.
I had the experience of going the other way, starting with Cinema and then changing to Softimage when I went to Pictorium, because they were using that. And for me, that was a very easy transition, because I think most of the concepts are the same. Like when you open up an object in Softimage scene browser or whatever that is called, you get all the stuff you can do with the object listed underneath it. And in Cinema, it's tags, is what we call it, and they're just organized in the back of an object. So that's not really a difference just from the way stuff is organized in the object manager or scene browser or whatever. For me personally, it was a very nice experience transitioning from Cinema to Softimage back in the day. So maybe it's the same thing the other way around. Of course, there's some stuff which is not working the same way it is working in the other package. But
the character stuff, because you don't really see that much character work coming out of Cinema.
I think that's more to do with the distribution of Cinema, and the companies that are using it are not really doing much character stuff, especially in German TV commercials, where Cinema is used quite a bit, I guess. You don't really see much characters in general, not software dependent, but in general, character work for TV commercials is basic at best, with some exceptions that are really well done, but I don't have many experiences with character tools in Cinema, a bit from our Stratos film where the guy was jumping down from space, and the character tools are pretty advanced. They saw a really huge overhaul some years ago, and since then, at least for what I use from them, everything is there as blind IK, just everything I wanted in my basic to a bit advanced understanding of characters.
Yeah, just add one note to characters. I mean, I recently spoke to a company called Imaginary Forces in Los Angeles. And what they did is they just brought in 10 guys coming from different packages like Maya or Houdini, building characters within Cinema 4D. And it was guys from DreamWorks and Sony working on the stuff. And they never touched C4D, but they were able to rig a full character, of course. I mean, the guy who helped us developing the character tools back in the days, he's a character TD at Disney. And so for us, it's really important to take a close look what's needed from the market. And we also involve people like high-end artists building the tools. C4D has the approach to be easy to use. And character is something that's not easy to use at all. And so what we built is a hybrid system, means you can build a rig and let it walk in 5 minutes. That's not a big deal. But having full control over the rig, you have to expand the full hierarchy. So what you get per default is 10 objects in your scene tree. But underneath, it's 500. And so this is something we try to hide in the first place, not so the people can do their work. If they reach any limits, they can change the modes to get the full hierarchies with whatever you need. So I would say the character tools in Cinema 4D compared to Softimage is, let's say, 90% there. Of course, there's some stuff missing, and this is also something I would love to know more about what's really missing to put it in.
I think in the first place it's kind of scaring to open the package, and it's not there. I think all XSI users are saying they're artists and they're not very technical, but I think there's so much technical stuff going on we have to deal with, and we are used to it. I know the discussions when starting with eyes. I think a lot of artists were like, oh no, I don't know about vectors. I don't want to know, and now they're kind of feeling like real TDs. Maybe it would be a plan to show people like us that there is something under the hood, because at first look it feels a little bit like a toy. So because you're hiding everything, maybe it's a plan to show more of that to us, so we know, hey, there's some crazy stuff, technical stuff going on.
That's when using the auto rigger, by the way, you get a very limited feature set when you first drop it in. An auto rigger just saying, here's your character, here's my automatic rig, the character's got its limbs there, and you scale it and it's walking sort of. But if you don't start with an auto rig, but build it yourself, joint by joint, then if you just open up the control panel character and it folds out like this, and there's a lot of stuff there to get you scared if you really want to.
Okay.
I mean, also the good stuff in C4D is that the complete interface is customizable. So any palette, any icon, you can build your own palettes, and you can, absolutely. I mean, this is you can save your layout, so you can say Softimage user, Maya user, and you can really change it to whatever flavor you need.
Yeah, that was a thing when Final Cut kind of configured with their version, and Premiere made all the shortcuts and stuff and the layout like Final Cut, so you could download the presets. So maybe that's an idea, to make a preset that looks like Softimage, and then here's Loaded and here's Cinema with the Softimage layout.
But Softimage looks like designed by Rudolf Steiner, so I'm not sure if that is if that is really a goal. Just
I was saying a bit of a joke. I wouldn't recommend doing something like this. I think if you're going to jump to another package, you just need to jump fresh.
You can adjust the shortcut. I think it's a good idea to adjust the shortcuts, which you can freely, because it feels better. But changing the whole layout around, probably not, because you can't follow any tutorials online, and you basically cut yourself off from all the support there is for cinema. And I mean, I'm using a custom layout simply because I'm using dual screen, and I just arranged it so that it feels good for me, and it is very easy to customize. I mean, you just take whatever window you need to reposition, just drag it over there, and it's very intuitive, and you don't need to read any manuals, and you don't need to go into text files and change your shortcuts there and restart the program and stuff like that. Interface-wise, I think it is the best program out there, if I may say so, without being paid by Maxon. But you can do everything with the interface, completely freely, whatever you want. No limits, nearly.
Sometimes I have the feeling with Softimage, after it was bought by Autodesk, they didn't really did any further implementation or detailed work on that software. They were pretty happy and brought out some minor additions for the software, mostly what they bought, not plugin stuff. And things what bug me most of the time are modeling tools in Softimage. They're kind of, how to say, old-fashioned for things. I work with them, and so it's cool. You're so fast, and so like when you take a look at Modo or so, how they fall a step further on for like modeling things or working with curves or so. Working with curves in Softimage is kind of pain in the ass sometimes, because they look around and they don't really do what you want. So what are the curve tools or the modeling tools in Cinema 4D which will make me happy?
But you have a sculpting thing, which looks quite nice.
wait a second with your answer. It's really interesting, because most of the XSI guys would tell you that the modeling tools in XSI are awesome, and no other package has these tools. So I have all these discussions all day long. I think so too. It's a yeah, I'm still modeling in Maya because I cannot do it. But a lot of the young guys, they're like, no, we need the modeling tools like in XSI. So yeah.
That's the good news. I mean, we have a really great development team and really passionate developers. So we try to add stuff to our modeling tools. I mean, Cinema 4D is also a tool that's over 20 years old. And there comes the time when you have to reinvent the modeling tools, and this is exactly what we started doing since, I don't know, 4 years now. And so it will be a continuous development to really overhaul all the new existing functions in Cinema 4D, make it easier to use, make it as powerful as it is in other applications, or much more powerful. And as you mentioned, we also have the sculpting tools, and our intention there is not to compete with packages like ZBrush, because we can't. But the goal is to give the user more flexibility for his modeling tasks without leaving the application. So add a little bit of detail or even enough detail within the package, animate it right away without importing or exporting any data. And so I think the sculpting toolset is really powerful, what we provide in Cinema 4D right now. And it works also on polygon objects. So when you start modeling using the standard modeling tools like Knife or Bevel or whatever, you can also use the sculpting tools directly on your polygonal objects without turning it into a highly subdivided something. So on the modeling side, yeah, you can be sure the tools that are in the package right now are pretty powerful, and of course we will add more.
Do I have one last question? Yeah. Can we trust you guys? And why? And why should we?
You can. Yeah, as I said, I mean, our intention is not to be the big company that's only money driven, because a lot of our developers coming from an artist background, they worked as TDs, and so the approach they have is providing tools for artists, from artist for artist. And so if we just want to make money, I wouldn't stand here and talk to you. I mean, because then we say, okay, we develop tools where we think it's the best, and you have to live with whatever we provide to you. Our intention is really to get all the feedback from the market. And I mean, part of my job, it's not a funny part, but it sounds like, is traveling much, visiting customers, talking to customers, and really get the feedback. Even, I mean, when we talk about body paint is a big topic, and it's not always positive feedback we get. Most of the body paint feedback we get is not very positive, but for me it's the approach to turn it into positive feedback from the Maxon side and developing features so the artist is happy. And as I said before, we with the last release, for example, we took the list, took the top feature requests, put it in the application, and so the feedback we get is pretty good, and I love this feeling and get this good feedback from the market, and so we will continue and getting these good feedback. And so node-based material editor is also top feature request, and this is something we are investigating right now, and I don't promise any date, but it's coming in the future, and we try to turn the feedback into real features.
It passes petitions and overrides, please.
Noted. Okay. I think we are good in time. Sure.
Industry stuff like open PDB and is that something you have in the pipeline as well?
Yes. I mean, this is something you can avoid it. I mean, this is something you have to take a closer look into it and say, okay, we have to support open standards. And personally, I love to support open standards because it's open. I mean, in the past, there was file formats like FBX, and everybody was more or less forced to use it and used it, but it was not an open standard. So it was driven by a competitive company. And so for us, it means from the development side, a lot of development time just adjusting every release of FBX. And so I would love to take this time and put the resources on something else, like new modeling tools or overrides. So open standards is a big topic, and I hope that more software will be more open to open standards, and we take a closer look to it, of course. Okay, thank you very much.